네, 여러분들, 쌤이 좀 전에 얘기했던 바로 지금, 네, 이 부분으로 왔어요. 우리 동영상이 어디 나오냐면 좀 밑에 나오거든요. 자, 여기 나비와 나방에 대한 뭐 이런 설명들이 좀 있으면서 쭉 한번 가볼게요. 쌤이. 자, 요건 하나 다음 것 때문에 볼 필요가 있는데요. 자, 군주와 같은 일부 나비는 겨울철에 수천 마일, 4,000km를 이동한다고 되어 있어요. 엄청 나비가 이렇게 많이 날아갈 수 있나 봐요. 나비와 나방에 대해 자세히 알아보기. 자, 요 영상이 지금 9분 20초잖아요. 여러분들이 보다가 조금씩 스킵해가면서 보는 건 괜찮을 것 같아요. 썸은 자막을 띄워주면서 여러분들에게 전체적인 부분을 전부 다 한번 쭉 찍을 겁니다. 시작하겠습니다.
I'm happy to welcome back Brian Reynolds from the Butterflies of the World Foundation. Today we're going to look at some of the differences between butterflies and moths, but these two groups of insects are actually quite closely related.
Yes, they both belong to the insect order Lepidoptera, which in Greek literally means scaled-winged.
Okay. And if we look at the wings, that's what gives them the color, right?
Yes, if you look close at these, all these different colors are made up of different little scales on the wings, which are actually modified hairs.
Right.
And if you look at this species here, it has a clear wing to it, which is normal for that species. And it's just like a fly or a dragonfly with a clear wing, and then most other butterflies have those colored scales all over that.
Okay, and this is where we get into one of the differences between butterflies and moths, the coloration.
Yes.
And that's probably a generality that
Yes,
butterflies are colorful.
Yes, for the most part, it's kind of a gray area, but most moths are drab. You see them around your porch light at night, and they're kind of brown and drab looking, and most butterflies are very colorful and beautiful.
Okay. Getting back to some of the similarities, their body structure is quite the same.
Yes,
right?
they're insects, so they have three main body segments. You have the head, thorax, and abdomen. The thorax is the part of the body that contains the muscles which control the wings, and each of them have two pairs of
털
wings,
보세요.
and they also have 3 pairs of legs.
Okay, and we can see those on this upside down specimen.
여기가
They also,
이거예요.
the adults
Long,
that actively
hollow
feed have
tongue.
a long mouth part, kind of like a straw,
Yes.
called a proboscis.
And that's for display purposes. They have that uncoiled, but usually when the butterfly is not using it, it's curled up underneath the head, kind of like a watch spring.
Okay. Now, do all adults feed on nectar? This is used to sip nectar out of the flowers.
Most butterflies feed on something, usually nectar, but sometimes other substances like rotting fruit, or sometimes on other things like carrion or scat, stuff like that. But not all moths feed.
Okay.
And some of them are actually, the caterpillars do all of the eating and get very big and robust and build up those body reserves. And then when they metamorphosize into the adult, sometimes some species, they don't eat at all.
Okay. And is that one of the reasons that the moths tend to have bulkier bodies?
Yes, that's one of the reasons.
Okay.
Yes.
If we look at the two, the butterflies are a bit more slender in their
나방이에요.
body form. So the coloration on the butterflies being brightly colored also
나비부터
relates back to some of their
날씬하다
behavior. They're active
Yes,
during the daytime.
that's true.
Thin
Butterflies are
body.
diurnal creatures, most of them, and therefore a lot of their behavior is oriented with the color. And a lot of the mates, like males when they're searching for females, they'll dart out after things that are a similar color as a female. So if you're wearing a shirt that's the same color as a female butterfly, sometimes you'll have male butterflies interested in you. Or if a yellow butterfly is looking for a mate, you'll see it stop at all the yellow flowers or a yellow leaf or something just to see if that's a mate.
That's a mate. Now the moths tend to be active at night. They're drabber in their colors.
And they use a lot of chemicals.
Yeah, they have to
chemical
find
scents.
another way to find their mates.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of the male moths you see have very large feathery antennae because they're trying to pick up all those chemicals through the air.
나방이에요.
And the more feathery the antenna is, the more surface area it has, so it can pick up, you know, very minute quantities of that scent of the female, and then backtrack that scent to the female upwards of, sometimes they say 10 miles away. They can
That's
find a
pretty
female.
incredible.
Yeah.
If we contrast that back to the
Wow.
butterflies, they have these slender antennae with a little knob kind of at
Yes.
the end.
Yep. That's one way to tell the difference. Sometimes you have some butterflies that look moth-like, and some moths that look butterfly-like. But you can look at the antennae and tell that no, that other species is actually a butterfly because it's got straight antennae with clubs on the end of it,
Okay.
and vice versa.
Yeah. It's one of the relatively reliable traits that distinguishes the two.
Yes.
Some other differences between them behaviorally is how they rest when they land.
Typically, butterflies, if they're not basking, and when they bask, some butterflies will open their wings and orient themselves to the sun to get
They're
warm.
trying to warm up.
Right. But when they're resting, like at night, when they're actually going to sleep, they rest with their wings closed.
Okay.
Moths, on the other hand, rest with their wings open, or sometimes open and then tented over the body.
Brian, another similarity between butterflies and moths is that they have a
똑같이
complete metamorphosis life
약으로
cycle, right? 4
태어나서
stages.
Yes.
caterpillar로
The four
쳐서
stages are the egg,
pupa로 쳐서
caterpillar, the
이제
pupa, and then the
moths나
adult.
butterfly가 되는
Now,
건
the
성체가
difference
되는 건 맞죠?
between butterflies and moths is especially in the pupal stage. When a moth pupates, it's called a cocoon, and when a butterfly pupates, it's called a chrysalis.
And the chrysalis,
이게
oftentimes
moths.
we see it hanging
Yes.
under a branch or a leaf,
Yes.
something like that.
Unprotected for the most part, but moths, on the other hand, will use substrate around
이게
them,
moths.
like the
아까가
detritus
butterfly.
on the ground and leaf litter and so on, and entwine that in with a bunch of silk and make a nice thick cocoon.
Cocoon to protect themselves.
Yes.
Well, it's a rather cloudy, rainy day, but we did see some butterflies, just not adults, right?
That's right. Even on a rainy day, you can go out through your garden and find caterpillars all over your plants.
Tell us about the caterpillars we saw.
Well, we saw the variegated fritillary on passion vine, and that's one plant I always recommend to gardeners. There's 2 butterflies in Oklahoma that love passion vine, and that is the variegated fritillary and the Gulf fritillary. So if you see the, as they call it, the little orange worm with black spikes on it, don't kill it. That's a butterfly.
Right. And the other one we saw was a painted lady.
Yes, painted lady. Now it eats a lot of different plants. One of them are thistles, believe it or not, and there's some other ones that may be garden plants. And we saw one, and something that's a little bit different about the painted lady is what it likes to do is kind of pull together leaves and make a little tent out of that. Then they hang out inside there and eat the leaves, and also the frass, the droppings, will accumulate, and that's
Tell us a bit about that butterfly.
well, it's some years it's very, very common. It goes in cycles, and some years there's literally millions of them out flying. Real small, a little larger than thumbnail size.
나비들의
And it
종류에
eats
대해서
frog
설명해주고
fruit as a
있거든요.
caterpillar.
그래서
Places, vacant lots, anywhere
좀
there's
넘기고
flowers, you
있어요.
can see that. Those were the ones that overwintered.
나비
Now we
종류
have a
많지?
new brood, and its close cousin, the tawny emperor. And then now, just now,
종류가 많네요.
we're starting to get this. There's only one brood, and they're just now starting, and they might last maybe 3 weeks, maybe.
So we can catch some of those.
Thank you.
네, 여기까지 봤어요. 자, 우리 이제 다시 돌아갈게요. 네, 여러분들 다시 한번 읽어보시고 다시 한번 정확하게 생각해 보시고 수업 시작하기로 들어가 보세요. 안녕.